aligned with our strategy. It is also well aligned with our core business as a university. So this seminar, at the end of the day, I was informed I had a brief conversation with our guests. This is just a beginning of collaboration, which towards the end, in the coming days, months, and years, will specifically advocate for facilitation of collaborative research and supervision of postgraduate students at master's and at PhD level. And this collaboration, I was also informed, it will help us mobilize resource from within and from other institutions. We are in a situation, we are in a time where we can't do it alone. So there is a need for regional collaboration. There is a need continental collaboration. There is also a need for global collaboration. Collaboration is very important because each institution has got its own strengths and limitations. So when we come together, we can do a better job in terms of giving the service to our clients. Basically, that is the spirit of this collaboration. Today, we are just starting with this seminar. Perhaps our guests, they will give us more light onto what is to come for the time ahead. So with this, I will like to acknowledge your presence, all of you. And I want to welcome you. And I want to thank our guests for identifying this institution as a potential collaborator for this project. This institution is not the only collaborator for this particular project. I think University of Lesotho and another university in Kenya and University of Eswatini. So these universities are part of this project. So you can very well imagine the amount of work, the amount of collaboration, and the amount of benefit which we will potentially enjoy in the times ahead. So without saying much, I'm not sure if I have said much. I'd like to welcome you and wish you a pleasant discussion. And for our presenters, I wish you all the best in your presentation. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
Thank you.
For welcoming back. Now it is time to welcome our presenters. I am aware that some people are online. I hope you are following us. Hello, people on online. Hello.
Hello, we are online, yes.
Okay, we acknowledge your presence. I hope you follow what we are doing. So at this time, we want to welcome Professor Simon to come and give us a presentation on solution models.
Okay. Thank you so much, colleagues. May I just sit like this so that we can record our presentation? So in order to record it is better like this because our cable is shorter if we go to the podium. Therefore, we'll just have to use it like this. I would like to start by saying thank you very much for the warm welcome you gave us. We have enjoyed every moment of our stay so far. And then we also promise to give the best of what we have as well, so that we can start to our collaboration in a way that will benefit all of us. So then greeting to the Kingdom of Eswatini, the Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor, the Pro-Vice Chancellor, the Deans, the Head of Departments, academic staff, professional staff, students, ladies and gentlemen, we are greeting you in the name of the project that we are starting together as a team. So this project has been explained by Professor Solomon and also Dr. Mabuza. So what we are here for, colleagues, is that we have established that through our South African National Research Foundation, there is a lack of interaction between African universities. So as a result of that, this NRF, we call that NRF. So NRF would then, it's willing to pay to establish these African interactions so that all universities in Africa will benefit in future in terms of research, supervision, and curriculum development. So as a result of that, then we applied for that for the funding to travel around Africa. So we were given that go ahead this year to identify 3 universities in Africa of our choice. Then we decided to choose National University of Lesotho, University of Eswatini, and then Kenyatta University in Kenya. So these 3 universities are now welcoming us, coming to establish this project. So what the project will do then is that it will then help us to have seminars at least the second weekend of a second month in every year. So in other words, we may have these seminars 6 times a year. So what will we be doing there? So there we'll bring our students as supervisors, our postgraduate students, to be part of those cohort or collaboration that we'll be doing. So when we have that seminar on Friday, we'll have a guest speaker who will be taking us through a certain strategy of research or a certain strategy of supervision. Then on Saturday, we'll have that day for all our students from these 4 universities, that is University of Eswatini, National University of Lesotho, Kenyatta University, as well as University of KwaZulu-Natal. So we'll have them like that. So then our students, then when they present, their work will be critiqued by other peer students and also by different supervisors. So in fact, all of us will be learning there from the process, because as supervisor, we'll be learning new strategies of supervision. As students, we'll be learning new ways of dealing with what we call research. So instead of then going straight to supervision strategies or supervision model, so we decided, because of the situation, we decided then to go straight to basics of academic writing, which will include, of course, models of supervision. Then, so our main issue then is to say that we are all here. Are we sure that we are all here? I'm sure the answer will be that we don't know, because really we don't know. That's why we have to do research. Because what we have right now is our body. This is my body. This is my hands. This is my head. This is but it's not me, which means I'm not sure whether I'm in here or I'm not in here, because what is me is not known, but it will only be known through research. Through research, it will then be known, but at the moment is not known. Now, if it is not known, it means that we need help us to establish where we are. Because if I can ask you right now to say, where are you in that body? No one will tell, So that will then force us to conduct studies that will then help us to deal with the issue of supervision as well as research. But however, scientists have come to a conclusion that what is us is in the mind, because I can take my hand and replace it with another hand. There will be no problem, I'll still exist. I can take my kidney and replace it with another kidney. I can still exist. But can I take my brain and replace it with another brain? It's a problem. Therefore, scientists then concluded that we are in the mind, we are in the brain, and then they've then started to divide the mind into, in whatever we do, then the mind then is then divided into 3 categories. So the first part of the mind is what helps us to grow the body that we have. Remember, when we were born, we had a tiny body. That tiny body, how come that same tiny body today is huge like this? Which means there's something that is fundamentally important in this body of ours. So that fundamental issue now, scientists now are identifying as the unconscious mind, to say there's this mind that is developing everything. It's helping us to breathe. It's helping us to blink. It helps us to move. It helps us to do all these things. As then they call it unconscious mind. So we live because of that unconscious mind growing everything. But then they are saying then with that kind of unconscious mind, there is another element where we record every experience that we come across. So that will be the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, it's a permanent memory that we have that record everything. For example, if I drive from the airport to here, I may drive perfectly because I'm used to it while I'm talking to people in the car. So that's what was happening when colleagues were driving. They were talking to us while they were able to drive in the same, and they were driving perfect way. Why? Because the subconscious mind is driving. Whatever habit you have, they are recorded in your subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind will record every element of what we are doing, so that when we repeat it, we then use habit to deal with it. We don't even have to concentrate. So when we drive, when we are used to driving, then we don't have to concentrate in driving. But if you are driving for the first time, your reasoning power, which is the conscious mind, should help you to focus. Then you concentrate on that all the way until you come to that destination. But if there's something happening that is a strange thing happening on the road, then the conscious mind quickly will come to guide the subconscious, because the subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is imaginary and what is real. Therefore, when we reason, we are able to distinguish between the two. So now, with research then, or with supervision, we have the same thing, that we need to get to the subconscious mind of our students or of our reviewers of our papers, because when you send a paper, reviewers will be marking your work there. As a student, then you have to make sure that your thesis is responding to the subconscious mind of your examiners. Or if you publish a paper, it should be in line with what we call your reviewers. So once that is covered, then you'll be able to have a success process in terms of what you are doing. But these 3 elements are ignored. We don't know them. We don't even consider them. But that is the part that constitutes us, which we need to treasure and nurture on our way, of doing research or doing supervision or doing our thesis. So those are the three things that we have in the mind. So what do we do then at UKZN? When we deal with this issue of supervision or issue of publication, that is where we start. We start from here to say, okay, there are journals out there that will need our papers. So when then they need our papers, we list them every year. So these are 2022. So in each of these links, you'll find that there are thousands and thousands of journals listed in each of these lists. All these lists indicate journals that are accredited. So how do we access this list? We go to our university website, and then you go to research, and then we go to the option that say accredited journals. Then we take that from there. Then we choose from this list and start to say, okay, let's work like that. But it doesn't end there. After choosing a journal where you want to target, you will then have to check again which quantile is the journal that you are trying to choose. There are journals that are highly rated. They are called quantile 1 journals. So they are leading the world, those quantile 1 journals. And there are also journals that are identified as quantile 2. Those are just normal journals that one can identify. And there are those that are now in quantile 3, which are lower than quantile 2. And then the lowest is quantile 4. Usually quantile 4, if you publish with quantile 4 journals, you will find that this year it was accredited, but the following year, maybe it's outside the accreditation, that accreditation list. Therefore, you have a journal article that is no longer accredited. So how do you check the quantiles then? You go to this website, it's called Science Mogul. So when you go for it, it will give you what we call a list, a window where you can type the number of a journal. For example, if you were to type this one, it will give you education and information technology journal. And then you will see that that journal is in quantile 1. Then you start to say, that's quantile 1. You publish with that. But if you find that is in quantile 4, yes, if you are still a student, yes, you may publish there, but you must be aware that it may be out of the list sooner. But if you target quantile 1, 2, chances are that those are powerful enough not to be excluded from what we call accredited journals. Then why are we doing that? Why are we targeting quantile 1 journals as African universities or as African scholars? Because there is this attitude that other continent may think that we are not good enough to publish in those quantile 1 journals. So the more we do some collaboration in order to publish on those quantiles, on those quantile 1 journals, is the more we gain respect as African academics or scholars. So then when then this move is going like that, we have this system which rank our universities. So the rankings then, you can see that here, it has to do with what we call teaching and learning. So teaching, the powerful teaching and learning here, the powerful teaching and learning there, someone is here. Okay. So, but now teaching and learning include the supervision of postgraduate students. So postgraduate students are part of our teaching. So when you produce them here, produce PhD students who will produce more articles. And then you have master's students who will also have more articles in terms of their research, where they take from their research. Then that help the institution to do well with this 30%. And the other 30% will come from research. When academics are publishing in these accredited journals, then the system will generate those from those universities according to the need of that list. So they will use that 30% from research to say, okay, we have that. And at the same time, it will also look for 30% for citation that, okay, here are the students who have published, here are academics who have published. Let's look at the papers. How many citations do they have? Then if they are cited by other scholars in different continents, they will have those citation index to generate another 30% of the university towards the world rankings. And then when you collaborate, then like the collaboration that we are starting now, it will then help us, it will give us about 7.5%. Then when we engage funders, companies to fund our collaboration and our research activities, if they generate the funding, we'll also generate 2.5%, which means these institutions that are working together like this, making sure that this formula is covered, will then be able to see them ranked in the top 500 universities, but they should be within the range of 2,000 universities. Because when they take 22,000 universities in the world, then the top 2,000 are listed there. And then if you're in the top 500 universities, then you must know that you are doing well, you are pushing well. Therefore, you are doing well in terms of your publication, your research, which means research publication, supervising your PhD and your master student, as well as dealing with the issue of engaging universities outside your university. At the moment, here are some universities that are leading in the world. You can see Harvard is there, still #1, but it's not doing a miracle. So all what they do, they have to make sure that they publish in Quantal 1, they supervise and graduate PhD student and master student. They make sure that their work is cited by other scholars. Then boom, they are #1, or they are in the top 500. So, but how do we do this then? Doing it, we first need to find our own identities. What's your identity in terms of your publication, in terms of your supervision, in terms of writing your thesis as a student? So you need a certain identity, a certain position that you have. Normally, usually we have 3 positions where we have what we can call horizontal position. But researchers, when they talk about this, they'll talk about interpretivist paradigm, critical paradigm. You see, all those paradigms fall under what you call a horizontal way of doing things. So in other words, you are saying here, you don't start from 1, but you can target any level or any experience that you want to use in terms of shaping your publications and also shaping your students. So here, the outcome is important because it's based on the opinion of the people in the local area. So now, if I can give you an example, if you were to teach students the outcome will be to say they should pass. You teach them to pass. So if they pass, it doesn't matter whether they've achieved 50% or 10 or 55%. As long as they've passed, you will celebrate to say, wow, you see, I've achieved it. Yes, because the outcome, if you are driven by a societary identity or horizontal identity, the outcome will always be important. Then when you do it like that, then you will simply say, when you do your study, then you will say, before I complete my PhD, I want to at least publish maybe 5 articles before I complete. So you will then stop working hard on your study and then move towards publishing those papers. So when you publish those papers, and then you will be happy because your thesis is moving that side and your publication are moving this side. So I've seen quite a number of students who have opted for that option or that model of supervision, where they will simply tell you that, no, I want 4 years instead of 2 years. Why now? Why are we going to avoid academic exclusion? They will say, I will appeal against that exclusion. Don't worry. They will continue with you. So now, on the other hand, there are other students who will simply say, I know in my case, I want to take a vertical way of doing it. So what you call professional identity. So all institutions have structures of writing a paper or a thesis. So all what these students will do, they will follow the structure as it is in order to finish their thesis within a recorded time. Why? Because they want to publish after they've done their thesis. So once they are done with their thesis, then they'll start to say, okay, now let me publish. And they'll publish like mad women or mad men when they publish. So I've seen that from my experience. I've seen those 2 streams of students coming this side and coming this side. And those who are coming from this professional side or vertical side, for them, they will always ask you to write down. And again, for those students, all the time, you should be able to read what they've written and submitted to you, because they submit a chunk of work like that, which may not take the whole chapter, which means you can take 30 minutes looking at it, and then after looking at it, then you respond quickly. Maybe you can respond the same day, and then they will continue. Then for them, they will make sure that they finish within the recorded time. But the opposite there, that side, they will make sure that they add some semesters in what they are doing. But what is important then is that you should be asking yourself then to say, which one is correct? Which one is good? So my answer will be to say, no, we don't have a good one or a bad one. Your need will determine which one do you use, because if you take it to your personal needs, that's where you will decide whether you want to finish your degree within that recorded time, or you may delay it, but delaying it, you have some activities of research that you produce. You see, both of these scholars, they've acquired what we call scholarship of their publications. Therefore, we bring both of that. So in my case, then when I supervise, or when we supervise that side, there are colleagues of ours who enjoy that part there, where they will say to students, you know what, go out there and look for information that will help you to finish your proposal. Then student will go to Professor so-and-so and come back to say, yeah, my supervisor, here you go. I've done mine. Look at it. And then the supervisor will simply say, no, this thing is not good. No, go away again, look for more information. Then you go to another doctor, another professor. Then you ask this professor or this professor to help you to write this proposal. When you come back to your supervisor again, still no. You see now how horizontally structure of writing is taking us to, because it says that we have to go anywhere and find. Maybe you'll find that 10th professor or doctor who will give you something that will be acceptable to your supervisor after we have spent maybe 2 years already trying to build this. But if you stick to your supervisor to say, I take their professional direction, whatever structure that is prescribed by this university, I want to follow it as it is, step by step, from step 1 to the last step. That's when your proposal will be finished according to the record of the institution, according to the prescribed structure of the institution. Then your thesis, if your thesis you want to take 2 years, then surely your thesis will just be 2 years. Nothing else, because you follow what professionals have described for you in order to take your 2 years, if it is 2 years. If it is 1 year, they've described for you to take that 1 year. If it is 3 years, it's etc., etc. So following the structure is taking us to the facts. Whose facts are these? Are facts of your discipline or of your university. So that when you have done with those steps, they will definitely approve what you have written. But this side is when we don't follow what the institution has prescribed, but we look for contribution wherever we think we may be supported, then we get it there. But then when you come to this one, then the personal part of it is where you start to say, let me go back, you reflect back to say, let me go back to my subconscious mind. What does this subconscious mind of mine has? Then you interrogate it. Before you write a paper or before you write your thesis, you have already identified yourself within a certain position. If you want to combine these two to say, how many of the vertical identity do I need for this activity? You know how many percent. And how many of that horizontal, then you have it like that. For students here, when they do their thesis, they normally have WhatsApp group, Facebook groups, and then they'll go there and get opinions from their friends there. When they come to their supervisor, usually, if supervisors are more of professional identity, surely they will reject that, because the language for them is that these students should be following the university prescribed structure in order to finish. So when they identify themselves here, they know that they will understand that they have their unique identity. So the unique identity will need some pieces that are built from what is prescribed by the university and what is prescribed by community. Then they bring that together, they produce their identities. So their subconscious mind now will transform. If there were more of horizontal identity, and then they will be aware that there is vertical identity as well. So paradigms that are normally used here for research are paradigms like a positivist paradigm, where people will say there's one answer. So what is the answer here is what the university has prescribed. Let's give us the one answer. But this side, they are saying there are many answers out there, so I can go to anywhere and then come up with the contribution. So how then do I align this? I align this with animals. Animals are showing us well how we behave, because whatever behavior we have, but we are taking it from animals and then we apply it unaware that we are following the nature of this. Look at the lions. Lions are social cats. They always hunt together. So when they grab whatever they, for example, impala or buffalo, they will work together as a team to make sure that they kill this in order to eat. But when they eat, they will become personal. Each one of them will eat on its own without now giving to others. Because you can see when they eat, look at them when they eat, they will eat. One is there, another one is there. But when they were working as a team. So it's happening in the same way here. When students are working in the cohort, they come together, contribute together. But when you start to write your article or you write your thesis, that's where you should remember that that's your individual unique need to finish the thesis. So that's what are becoming, but they become aware of when they start to look at their personal identities. If not, they are not going to be aware of that. As a result, they may end up socializing well with friends. But when it comes to writing, they are taking 10 years instead of 2 years. Why? Because they get carried away with that debate around the social media space, etc. But now supervisors should be there now to say, okay, let's move to the other side. I find your identity first, and then you decide whether how much of the group contribution do you need, how much of the profession you need through your supervisor or your university. And then when it comes to this professional identity, I align it with a tiger. That when you say the tiger has to fight with a lion, a tiger does not work with other tigers. It's working alone. So, and it's strong there working alone. That's why when you say it has to fight with the lion, it can punch the lion 8 times before the lion responds. Because for the tiger is to finish the job now, because no one will support me when I'm tired. But the lion will kick and kick and kick and say, oh, my brother lion is coming as well. If I'm tired, this one will continue with the fight because they are working as a team. So now when you work on your project, then on your research, there are times where you have to work as a tiger, where you say, what is the prescribed structure of publications? What is the prescribed structure of supervision? What is the prescribed structure of writing a thesis? Then you bring those together, then you work as a tiger. Then there are times where you have to work as a lion, and then you change, you work as a lion, you socialize. So I've seen colleagues, you see, colleagues who are others are in this room, who have done that, who have moved to say, okay, right now I need to socialize. Then come there, they go there. And then others will, sometimes they say, no, I need to be professional now. And then, so that's why they managed to finish their PhD thesis with no problems. So they managed because they were aware. But before they came to us, they were not aware of how people operate horizontally and how people operate vertically. It was just a matter of that, of helping them to understand that, no, let's distinguish between the two. Then we had to force them to write their own reflection, to say, write your reflection. And then from there, then they became aware of their strengths and weaknesses, and they work with according to their strength. So, but then you must always remember then that both the lion and the tiger are dangerous if you want them to be dangerous. So in other words, if you don't understand them, they may be dangerous to you. But if you understand them, they may be harmless to you. So using vertical approach or horizontal approach, it doesn't guarantee you that definitely you will make this like this. The situation will tell you what should you follow. is it the vertical or the horizontal? Then it comes to a situation where you find yourself in that situation where you have covered them well. But colleagues, when they are aware, I can guarantee you, when you are aware of your position in that body of yours, you will increase your joy. You will be joyful in your life because you are closer to what we call objective reality of what you are doing. But if you don't understand yourself, you understand yourself through other people to say, no, I will run like this because Dr. So-and-so is running like this, or Professor So-and-so is running like this. Then you have a problem then that those individuals are not you, then your body will follow them. But your personal identity will be against that because it belongs to those other individuals. But when you work as a team like we are starting now, it will be better because we will have to understand both ways of doing things, whether we have horizontal, we have vertical, then we have something like that. So let's take this task, colleagues, to say, now that we are aware of different models of supervision or different models of writing research. Let's assume that we are conducting a study on where that is an investigation of the number of pretty people found in the pictures. So I have pictures which I would like you to use to conduct this study. So in other words, I'm trying to hypnotize you so that you talk to your subconscious. So that will be the aim of this activity, to hypnotize you so that you talk to your subconscious, so that you become aware of how your subconscious mind is driving you. Okay, so now the question then, or the purpose of the study then, it will be to investigate the number of pretty people found in the pictures. So that's your purpose of your study, eh? It's either a paper or a thesis, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now the questions, here's the quantitative question, which will need a specific answer, one answer, which is a descriptive question. The data collection method will be photo voice, because I'll give you some photos that you generated. So it says, what is the number of pretty people found in the pictures? So now a number is coming from a quantitative way of doing it. We quantify them to have that specific number. If they are 10, they are 10. But we have to investigate until we know how many of them are there. But then we also have a qualitative question to say, how does the number of pretty people represented in the pictures? You see there, we have to observe and see how operational. We call that operational question, when how they are operating wherever they are. And then we have a philosophical question there, which may be qualitative or quantitative, where we are saying, why do the pictures have particular number of pretty people? So that would be a semi-structured interview question where we now have to ask these people to come to what we call the subconscious mind response. So that's a philosophical question. But now, before we go there, we need to ask ourselves, what frame will we use in order to deal with this situation? So we need a specific frame which can help us to deal with that, with the situation. So the frame then that we trying to, someone is yeah. Okay, so the frame now would be say, pretty people are women. Okay, they are women. And then they have either long hair or dark hair. They are under the age of 61. They wear light clothes in summer but dark clothes in winter. Therefore, let us now investigate the number of them then. So when we investigate, we have now this picture there. Then the question will be, what do you see there? Do you see pretty people? Remember, we are looking for a number of pretty people. Do we have pretty people there? Do we have pretty people? We don't have pretty people. But do we have people? Let's start there. Do we have people there? Where are they? On the side of the bus. Okay, let's try to highlight them. Let's take a pen. Okay, so there's one here. The chin for this one is going there, going there, going there, going like that and there. So there's one face, eh? Is this face belong to a lady or a man? It's a man. Okay, what female? What about the other one this side? It's a man again. So if there are two of them, because the other one is going up there, up there, up there. So if they are both men, which means we don't start to count from here, because our framework is saying look for women, long hair or dark hair, etc., etc. We have our criteria of looking at what will constitute pretty people. So we are saying here, we live with this one because it has two men. Okay, what about this one then? Do we have people there?
Yes.
Oh, there are people. Okay. Okay, if we do have people there, then it means less ladies. One. So let's look at it. Let's identify them. One, we have this side, we have a bigger picture of a grandfather. So we have those two. So we can start to exclude grandmother as well, because we said 60 years, 61 years old and above, we exclude those. But we don't know how old is the grandmother. We have to go back to the grandmother to say, you're a lady, how old are you? Then we start to bring that. And then this side, we also have another grandmother there carrying something. You see grandmother here in the eyes of the main grandmother is carrying something there. And then when you go on the other side, you have a grandfather. In here, you have another one who is carrying, who's playing a guitar, He's playing a guitar in there. So now is inside there. He is wearing a hat as well. Here's the hat. And then here's the guitar there, playing guitar there. So now, which means we have bigger picture is grandfather, and then smaller picture is another grandfather playing guitar. This side we have a bigger picture is grandmother, and then a small picture again, grandmother is carrying something in the eyes of this other person. And then when you look at the ear there of the grandfather, you can see we also have a lady coming from the door. Then you have someone else there. So now our data, then remember back to your framework, looking for pretty people. So of these, there's another one there on the tower there. You see the tower there? Someone is on top of the tower there. There's a small tower, someone on top. So now we need to now start to count now. How many ladies are here? We said there are 3. Is the grandmother and grandmother and the lady coming from there. But we don't know about someone in the tower there. So in order for us to establish whether this is a lady or gentlemen, where do we go then? We need to go back to the designer of the picture to tell us, to say, this is a lady or a maid. If that is the lady, we can start our counting then. To see how difficult is the research, because sometimes we look at it from the bigger picture, from the eyes of our friends, which is horizontal, where they'll simply say, oh, we have grandmother and grandfather. Okay, it's okay. Let's write a story. Let's conclude. Let's publish this. It's research. But when the reviewers review it, they start to say, no, hang on. We don't see the two senior citizens. What we see is the smaller picture there, and then they reject the paper, or they reject the thesis. Then you start to say, no, but I saw two grandmother and grandfather, they were there. Definitely, I'm sure about that. But when now you come to those reviewers of your thesis or your paper, then they'll start to show you, to say, what about the one who's playing guitar there? What about that one? Then, so which means when we write, we must write in such a way that we look at both sides, the horizontal, which is the bigger one, and then the smaller one, which may be prescribed by our institution or our discipline. Then what about this one? You see an old man, with a long beard. But now, when you look deeper, then you start to say, there are small people there. There's one there. There's another one there. There's another one there. There's another. And then don't lose your focus. Immediately you identify them, ask yourself, are these ladies or gentlemen? If they are ladies, your counting must start. So that you put all ladies one side, and then you start to interview the designer of these pictures to say, okay, what was your aim of designing this person, etc., etc. Then you have them going like that. What about here? Here, a grandfather drinking beer. Drinking beer. So your subconscious mind will give you what we have already constructed through these pictures. If you have constructed smaller pictures, you will only see the smaller one. You are not going to see the bigger picture anymore. And at the same time, if you have constructed a bigger picture, you are not going to see the smaller picture. Because here you can see is a grandmother, if you look at it from a bigger picture, with drinking beer. But at the same time, we have a ladies there. A lady sitting there, another one sitting on the rock, and another one standing there. It's like they are next to the jacuzzi. They are swimming there. So now you see, now we have two stories. We can write a story of a grandfather, or we write a story of the three ladies that are out there. So then the question will be, which story will have a value in terms of our reviewers or examiners when they mark our thesis? So which one will have a value? We don't know, because we are not in their subconscious mind. So the better way of doing it then is to bring both the bigger picture and the smaller picture. Tell a story of the bigger picture and then a story of the smaller pictures. That's when you start to say, aha, we pass your thesis or we pass your paper when we review your paper. But if you give me what is the bigger picture, which is an issue that is being indicated by friends and others, I may be looking at the smaller ones, then I'll fail your paper or reject your paper or your thesis. So research is about that. That's how subjective is that we must look at the bigger picture and also the smaller picture. What about this one? Bigger picture, grandfather, but small picture, how many faces do we have there? 2, 3. I will tell you that there are many. One is the grandfather, which is the bigger picture, and the grandfather again is a smaller picture in there. who is in there in the eyes of that bigger picture, and then a lady carrying a baby there in the ear, and then a face there facing on the right-hand side. There's the face there. Yes. By the edge, there is the face, yeah. And we have another one here, another face facing that other side here when you go in here. When you look at that there, somewhere there, we have that face facing to the other side. And then here, you have another face facing on the right-hand side. And the other face is facing. So you see, you have identified already many faces. Then you go back to your framework to say, are these women? And then if they are, you start to counting there. And then when you go to the next one, you have the same. What do we see here? Is the rose, eh? Nice rose. Yeah. Do we all agree that you have a rose there? Eh? No faces, eh? No faces. Where are the faces, if they are? Or you can see the shoes there. Shoes and the leg and the there. Others will say this is a couple kissing there. They say it's a couple kissing. Yeah, the legs are there. Yes, so in other words, if we have been trained to look at people all the time, you will immediately, you are not going to see the rose, but you'll see that couple kissing on top of the row. But if you're interested in object like rose, you may not see that couple kissing. So it's up to your subconscious mind now to show you what you have been trained to see. But these things are not really, but it's your subconscious mind that is creating them so that you will think you see something. So then your conscious now will help you to reason, to identify, to say what is imaginal and what is real. So in this case, others may identify a couple, others may just identify a rose. That's enough for them. But what about here? What do you see then there? Tree branch, yes. You see, if you're interested in objects, you will just see that tree branch there, nice tree branch. But if you're interested in people, in talking about people, you will say, here's a couple there looking at that ocean. Or I can see a baby sleeping there with the back there. There's the legs, there's the hands, there's the face of a baby. You see now, when you start then to say, you are asked to mark a thesis of a particular student, a student who has written about a baby, while as an examiner, you can only see trees. So what do? You fail the student. Yet the student has another identity in his or her subconscious mind. You see then, so in other words, when you fail this student, you are telling us that you have what you call objective reality of the world. So what you see is really for everyone in this world. But once you start to understand your personal identity, you will know that whatever you have is just your user interface for you to survive, but it's not real. Even this world is not real, but it's real in your subconscious mind. Yes, because you see it as if it is a rectangle in rectangular shape. Others, they have it as a circular shape. Others, they have it like, but who has the objective reality of this? No one. That's why if I can say to you, if you have that objective reality, which force you or should guarantee you that this student should get 0 or this paper should be rejected, you are claiming that you have what we call objective reality of this world. Therefore, if you have that, you should be able to give me a theory or a user interface, which can help me to go out there, teach my student. Each of those students should achieve 100%. Why don't we have someone with that tool, with that theory? Because we have been using all these theories, the Voice theory and this theory, but have we ever achieved a situation, we ever seen a situation where we see each of our students in our classes getting 100% using that particular theory? No, because that theory may be looking at the world as a bigger picture, while this subject will need a smaller picture. Therefore, be aware that when you start to criticize people, you are criticizing them from your own perspective, which may challenge you later when you start to realize how bad you were to these individuals. You said, oh my God, you feel ashamed now because you have, because you got carried out with whatever experience you had for that particular time. But when the time goes on, you realize that no. In fact, it's the opposite. Then in these pictures are showing you that when you see a baby here, others may have seen the trees, others may have seen the couple. So it depends where you are looking at. Therefore, you also have another one there. So what we see there then? Tree. We have a tree. So if we're interested in object, we say, aha, there is a tree, a nice tree. But others will say, no, I can see faces. Face one there, another face there, another face there, another face. They can count and tell you that there are about 10 faces there. Then we have to go back to your frame to say, are these women or men? Put aside men, put aside women. And then you start to count because you want the number of pretty people in these pictures. But what about this one then? What do you see there? It's a frog. Are you sure that the story that you are telling is correct if you say you saw a frog? Let me bring it again. Is it really a frog? Is it really a frog? Because we have written a story about the frog. Do we have a frog there? It's a horse now. You see? So we don't have a frog. But we have killed people who indicated that they saw a frog there, and because we don't like frog, and then we said these are bad people, we must kill them. We must. Yet, if you pay attention to this, you'll see that no, what you have is just your subconscious mind that is giving you the frog, because you thought of the frog at that particular time. Therefore, it's giving you the frog. Yet we have a horse. Okay, let's see this last one then. What we see there. A couple. Oh, I'm sure that you see a couple. You see now, because we trained you to see people, your subconscious mind is playing you now to see what is not there. We don't have people there. All what we have here, we have dolphins in a white space. Here's dolphin one there. Dolphin one is moving up there, jumping up there. Another dolphin is moving from here, is jumping up there. Another dolphin is going down there. Another one is going down there. Another one is also going down that side. Another one is going down that side. Another one is going down. You see, we can count a number of dolphins and write a story that will then represent objective reality rather than saying these are people. Because to say these are people while we see the shape that is created by dolphin, we will be telling an untrue story to what we are telling, to whom we are telling. Therefore, when we tell stories, then when we write our papers, we write our thesis, or we supervise our students to produce their thesis, we have to make sure that What student may see dolphins, as supervisors sometimes start to say, no, they are not dolphins here, there are people here, there are people, it's a couple. Yet the student is right. Later, when the examiners fail the thesis, and then you start to say, oh, this student was right. You see now how shameful will that be? Because we jumped the gun instead of allowing different forces to shape us. That's what is happening then when we deal with our activities. So now, for us then to come here is to just present this situation to say, let's work together so that if we decide in Africa to say, we want to look at the bigger picture for this thing, all universities or most universities in Africa are looking at it like that. So that when we say, let's compete with other continents, we should be able to say, in terms of African perspectives, this is what we detect for. We keep ours moving. So that continent that will try to compete with us, but we are talking in one voice. But at the moment, it doesn't work like that, because what is happening is that other universities will be saying, no, I'm taking my scholarship or my processes from Harvard University. Others will say, no, I'm taking it from this particular university. Then the African identity tend to be mixed in that, because when they interpret it with the frames of other continents, then African philosophy may then be neutralized as if now it's weak, yet we have it. So working like this, then working as a team, establishing those collaborations, that's where we can start to be very strong in what we are doing. Because whatever is there, it's a theory that does not represent objective reality. Because you can go to any continent and simply say, give me a tool or a theory that will help me. I want to win national lottery. I need money. I want to win national lottery. Give me a theory to win. No one will give you that. And then you start to say again, I want you to give me a theory to make sure that all my students will pass, each one of them will pass with 100%. Whatever I teach should produce students who will have 100%. How come that no one, you may name all those colleagues, but no one has that tool? That's why you are continuing to do studies and study, because our main aim is to find or is to come to that theory. So whoever will come up with the theory from any one of us here will be able to worship that person. The whole world will worship that person. But today, people may worship you wherever you are, sometimes not. But at the end of the day, no one is being worshipped by the world. How come is that? Because no one has that objective reality tool. What we have are just user interfaces that are limited to our own survival. So if then, as African universities can move to say, we are building this from our own identity. So when we move, maybe we may come up with a tool that will conquer the world and start to have to say, if I want to have students who will pass with 100%, here's the theory. Then you do the theory, you use the theory, you achieve everything you need. But at the moment, we don't have such. That's why now we have to continue. Even after we have finished our thesis, we must continue writing articles. So when we write articles, what are the structures that we use to write articles? All what we first identify is the phenomena, is the thing that is driving us to do what we are doing. Maybe it can be teachers' experiences in doing ABCD, or teachers' perception in doing ABCD. But whatever you identify as the thing that will shape the thing that you want to resolve, you may then have it as part of what you have identified as your way forward. So we call that a phenomenon. So in the title that you have for research, you make sure that you know what is the phenomena. And again, you should know what is the focus of the study. And then you should know what is the context of what you are doing. And then what is your data source? You see, with those 4 things in the title, you can't go wrong because you have declared that these are the things that I'll be chasing. So your phenomena will produce your literature review, and your focus will produce your framework, the theoretical framework or conceptual framework. Then the context, then we will know where exactly did you conduct this. It can be your discipline, or it can be your country or university or district, whatever, yes. And then in terms of data, then you need data then. It may be coming from books, it may be coming from people as your participants, or it may be coming from people as respondents. Because if we come from the quantitative part, we say these are respondents. If you come from the qualitative part, we call them participants. So, but they are source of your data. Then once you have your title, then you plan your title nicely, then you start now to bring your next move there, which is your purpose of the study. You have seen our study on the pictures there. What was our phenomena in the pictures? Because we're looking for a number of pretty people. So what was the phenomena there? Where we are looking for a number of pretty people in the pictures. Our phenomena was the number. What is the number? So that's what you have to put in the pocket. So wherever we go, we count according to what we are doing in terms of the purpose. And then the focus then was going to be pretty people. So that's why we brought a framework of pretty people, that they are women, they are this and this, because it has to come from the focus. So if you don't identify those 2 in your thesis or in your article, when writing an article or chapter, then reviewers usually find it difficult to see how you link different issues. Then, of course, we have objectives or research questions. Others will bring hypotheses. If it's a quantitative study, they'll bring hypotheses. But generally, we have objectives or critical questions, research questions, key questions. So whether you write a thesis or a paper, you need both. You apply in both. And then you also problematize what your phenomena is about. Yeah, because usually other scholars will say, what is the problem? We don't have a problem, but we have a problematic issue. You see, yes, we have a problematic issue. Therefore, when they say, what is the problem? A problem is something that will end here, and it will declare that we have what we call objective reality of this world. Therefore, whosoever is against this tool for objective reality is out of order, is a problem. So, but we call it problematic. It's a problematic issue. What is then a problematic issue? Let's just give an example. If you say, if my wife decided to take 10 husbands, I would be the 10th one. So let's say she decided to take. It's not a problem that she decided that, because she would be happy with those 10 husbands. So now, if that's the case that she's happy with the 10 of us being her husbands, then it means then what is problematic then is that she must keep all of us happy, because people are here in this world in order to be joyful. They have to be joyful in what they are doing. So if we are joyful because we are married to one wife, so what is the problem then? There's no problem. Yes, The problem is what you create because of our subconscious mind, that we have seen that people, a man will take many wives. So if then you change it because you are happy to be one of the husband, the 10th husband in one wife, the whole world will say, what is that? That's bad. How can it be bad if the 10 of us are happy? We are happy, you see. But what will be problematic is that when our wife is not satisfying all of us, joyful in this way. The main aim of research is to come up with a theory that will help us to be joyful in this world. That's why we go to school. We go to universities in order to achieve degrees. Then we think that after that degree we'll be happy, we'll be joyful. We are increasing our happiness. So how many of us are increasing happiness by doing those activities? When they are not aware, they don't become happy because what they follow a status quo of what other people like. When that is happening, they don't look at what will make them happy. They take the opposite. When they take the opposite, then that process will be limited because they're not going to be joyful until they die. Remember, in your case, just reflect back and remember that when you were 5 years old, you were happy over the moon. When you were 10 years, you were still happy because your parents were giving you everything nicely. But at the age of 30, you are miserable, depressed. Is that not strange? That when you have all these resources through your experience, going for university degree, going for that, but you are depressed than what you were when you were 10 years old under the leadership of your parents. That's strange. It should be the opposite. It should be that when you increase your experience, then you should be increasing your joy. But if you're doing the opposite, you must reflect back and remember to say, where did I betray my identity? Because I was happy then. Then you track it back. But otherwise, you will increase this. Your subconscious mind will enjoy increasing the miserable situation because you enjoy it now. You're no longer enjoying what keep you happy, but you are enjoying what keep you depressed. Yes, that's how the world is operating. That trick, the subconscious mind, you see, your subconscious mind, it will give you as it is. If you take a direction of being, because others enjoy being depressed because they get attention from other people, where they say, oh, shame, so and so. Then the whole world is saying, oh, shame, so and so. Then they will become victims all the way. So the subconscious mind will code that. You cannot escape from that. If you have practiced for that last 20 years, you need another 20 years to reverse that. Then you'll be joyful again. Otherwise, it's now becoming your habit. So when we say now we identify a problem with our research, we should be aware that we don't have problems. Problems are in our subconscious mind. We have created those, but they don't exist in this world because what you say is bad, it may be good to me. What you say is bad, what you say is good, it may be bad to me. Therefore, we don't have a tool that will give us what is good or what is bad. But we created that tool for now to say, in order for us to survive today, let's create this as a tool for our joy. Then we continue there. So, but the more you hide your identity, the more you get carried out with other people's identities. That's where that depression is coming from. Depression will come there because at the end, you'll be limited to what you have as your strength, you see. So writing papers, then you identify a problem and then a problematic issue, and then you go straight to your research, to your literature, read literature on research, and then you read articles on the theoretical framework, conceptual framework, or analytical framework. It will depend how you want to present then you got your research design and methodology, and then you have your findings, and then your conclusion and recommendation. So what you call recommendations then is what we are declaring to say, after this research, I've used this theory. This theory is limited up to here. Theory by so and so is limited up to here. Therefore, this one of mine is bringing another notion which will extend this one, because we have not come up with a theory that will heal all of us, heal the whole world. So what you have extended the theory that we have used. Therefore, you must, at no stage, you must think that the theory you have represent objective reality. Therefore, the whole world must use the same theory, because if you do that, someone else will come up with the next level to say, no, but we have forgotten about this thing, that the theory will be extended. Maybe one day, one of us in Africa will come up with what we call objective reality tool, which will represent objective reality. Because all what we have at the moment are just the user interface that we have. Because look at the Zoom that we are using, or the PowerPoint that I'm using here. When you look at your computer, you'll see a brown icon. So is PowerPoint a brown? But how come that when I open the slides are no longer brown, but the icon was brown? Is because this is just our user interface, but we don't know anything about Zoom. We don't know about PowerPoint. We don't know the objective reality of PowerPoint. The only person will know is the computer engineer who have combined some circuits and voltage nicely. And that person, if that person can say, instead of using the user interface of PowerPoint, combine these circuits, combine this and this and this. How many of us can be patient and continue with that process? We'll all run away, because we were trained to take what we call user interface and use it. So we take the tool for our survival to say, no, just use the icon. Click the icon. I don't know whether the circuit were combined. I'll just click the icon. I'll see what we call the presentation, and then program the presentation. But objective reality of PowerPoint is only known by the engineer who developed it, but we don't know it. But at no stage you start to ask to say, okay, when I have PowerPoint, how this thing was constructed? No, we are not interested in that. We are interested in the tool. So if now they decide to change it, to say, no, we change PowerPoint now to presentation, we'll change it like that. We don't question that, because we don't have time to do that. But doing our studies, we should go as far as that, going back to objective reality of what we are doing. So the theories that we are using then, if a theory is designed by so and so, we should understand that so and so first. What is the nature of reality about that particular individual? Then from there, you can track back to say, I think the qualities of this individual are similar to mine. Let me apply it. So you don't apply without knowing it. So then you put your references, and then usually this is how we put the parts of in terms of percentage when you write papers or thesis. For us, that side, we want to see about 10% of your papers and identification of problematic issue. And then the literature should constitute about 15% of what we have written. Then you have your research design and methodology. It should also constitute about 10% of what you have. And then the findings, where you describe findings, we are expecting to see something like, again, 10%. But with your discussion now, telling the story of the pictures now to say, okay, because we have identified that, yeah, there are 5 of them. So now telling the story now to justify your case may constitute something like 40% of your paper or of your thesis. And then the next move then will then have the future direction to say, what do you recommend then for the future direction, which is 10%. And the 5% is just to write conclusion and that. So that's how we write our papers in our institution. And then when we go to the next level, we start to say, when we deal with literature, literature should be following a certain frame. If we want to use chronological, where we say from 2012 to 2014, this phenomena was like this. And then, but from 2015 to 2016, it changed to you see, we have those dates or periods according to that. Or others will say, no, I'll take international, national, and local studies that were presented on the phenomena, which is contextually structured. And then you also have what you can call, you put your literature according to the schools of thoughts, where you say those that are following a behavioralism, school of behavioralism, then you put those studies there that are negotiating for that. And there are studies that will go for cognitivism. Those are studies. And then other studies will then respond to constructivism. You see, you are bringing three things. So it can be horizontal, vertical, and then diagonal, as we have seen there. So, or you may say, I'll follow certain themes or construct. So, or others will say hypotheses, others will take according to cases. If they have 3 institutions, it should be a case of the institution, etc. And when they report according to the cases of each of those. And then, or you may follow the method to say, I'll take according to the method. Those that have used interview are responding like this, and those that are using observation or questionnaire, you put them there. Or you follow the authors to say it has to go according to authors. The authors who have this notion, you put them there. Those that are, etc. So any structure is acceptable. But where do you start there? The main thing, your phenomena after the title should be there. You should have your phenomena and then the focus. Then when you start now that these, you may summarize them and put them into maybe different categories where you say, this category indicates social experience of these individuals. Maybe your phenomena was experiences. So this one represents social experiences. Then you bring in studies that you first interpret that what you mean by social experiences. And then you give some example. Then you bring studies then to evaluate what you call social experiences. Then you do with professional experiences, personal experiences. And then, but when you write it there with studies, you ask yourself, what is still missing in terms of these studies about this concept? You declare it as a gap here so that you tell the next researchers to say, but this issue is limited here, then they will have to continue from where you left the position. So that's how you structure the literature sometimes. Or you also have to ask yourself, why do you do the literature review? Literature review is there because we don't want to duplicate the studies that have already been conducted. So we also want to see what methods do we have there, what evidence do we have there, and what theories or models we have there in terms of our literature, and what methods of data generation collection do we have out there, so that we don't repeat things that are already there. All what we do, we just take and apply those things because they exist. But that will only come when we read literature properly and make sure that we cover what we are doing there. And here again, you're still looking for paradigms that were already declared by others. And then you want to know about a conceptual framework, theoretical framework. You want to know about empirical study versus non-empirical. You see, literature will give you that. And literature is driven by your phenomena. So there are different types of information that you get from the literature, like the dominating theories or model, you like the debates that are out there, the authors that are dominating the space, etc., etc. And then what do we look for then? What are we looking for when we read literature? So by the end of that article that you read or book or thesis, you should be able to know, you should be able to summarize what is really happening in this study. So you should know the purpose of the study, what was the purpose of the study, and then what were the questions that were asked, or hypotheses if these are quantitative studies, and then you have those. And then you also go to the next level to say, who were the participants? Because if you generalize to say the whole world is like this, yet you had only one school that had that practice. So you can't generalize the whole world. Therefore, we need who were the participants. And then you comment about the method that you used, the methodology, and then you critique the whole article or synthesize the notion of articles. And then when you have that, then you also remember that literature, you should cover most of the issues about that phenomena, although it's not possible to have all articles that were published around that phenomena, but take the main ones. And there's a supervisor, we need to guide those students to say, okay, I think now we have touched up all the gurus of this discipline. Therefore, I think now you can continue with the other element of your research, but you make sure that that is covered. In writing paper, same thing. And then in terms of treating those researchers when they've written their paper, don't just say, oh, I know Mkhize is bad news all the time. You'll never know when he has a powerful paper that he has written about what you need as a phenomenon. Just give fair treatment to each one of those. Read them thoroughly and then start to say, no, I don't need Mkhize's paper today, but you may never know, maybe tomorrow you may need it. But don't reject it outright, you see, just say reserve it. And then other writers, sometimes they just use websites more than articles, reviewed articles. The challenge with website is that anyone can publish a website because website may not go through the reviewing process. Therefore, limit them in terms of your writing so that you have more reviewed journals than those that are given like that. And then in terms of organizing it, you remember we had some different way of organizing it where you can have this structure, chronological, contextual, or so, but it should be it should be user-friendly when we read your thesis or your paper. Otherwise, if it is not user-friendly, if it doesn't give us a nice signpost logically, then it's easy for examiners or reviewers to reject our publications. But now, who are these authors then that we are citing? In our disciplines, we find that there are gurus of the place who have been dominating for the past 20, 30, or 40 years. And you find that they cite each other and they co-author when they write their publication. So there are examiners then who will simply start by checking if for example, if in our country there, when it comes to curriculum, Janssen used to be the leading one. So if you publish a paper, a thesis without Janssen cited, then Janssen will start to say, okay, the writers who subscribe to Janssen, we start to say, but Janssen is missing here. Janssen has so many theories that are addressing this phenomena. Therefore, this student did not cover this enough, or this scholar has not covered this enough. And then we start to say, okay, let's reject that paper or let's fail that thesis. So when you look at them like that, you make sure that they are covered well, and then whosoever is dominating in the field, you bring that person in. Although you may bring new ones, but those that are dominating, who are cited most, then you bring it in. Because if you can look at our context, Janssen there, Janssen is leading in the top 100 South African education scientists. So he's number one. You can see his H index is 44 there. His H index is 44. And then, so the world is ranking us as academics in South Africa according to this, because they look at your site, look at his citation. He has been cited 9,240 times. And then his H index is 44. So that's high index. And then others below him are coming there. But when you look at them, you can see that they are old enough because their age is somewhere 61, 60 there, you see. Those who are leading there. From number 1 to number 10, they are at that age. They started long time ago, which means they are dominating their field, left, right, and center. So as a result of that, they have been cited more than others. So that's what we have there in terms of that. Then when you go then further to say, where do we find research? We just go to search engines. There are some quite nice search engines that you can find there, like the Google Scholar, Eric, etc., etc. So these Google Scholars are online. All what you do, just go there. If you are looking for an issue where you are saying experiences of teachers doing something, all what you do, type that title there. It will give you studies that are related, that are closer to that. Or once you find one author who has published enough there, you just type the name of that author, and then boom, he or she will come. When he's there, he will be citing others who are dominating in the field. Then there you go, you have it. So these search engines are powerful in terms of dealing with your research, where you get articles there. And then when you deal with the issue of methodology, remember that methodology, it's shaped by a specific paradigm. So make sure that you know the paradigm that will shape what you are doing. If it is a positivist paradigm, you must know the principles of that. If it is an interpretivist paradigm or constructivist paradigm, you must know the principles of that. And then if it is critical paradigm or whatever paradigm, you must know that. So you define it there so that the language of your methodology will follow the language of your paradigm. Because once you have that, you can start to theorize different methods. That this is the design that I'll use. This is the data generation method that I'll use, etc., etc. But all what we'll have then, we'll have ethical issues that need to be addressed in any research. And the methodology, ethical issues are key, where you look for, apply for ethical clearance, and then you have nice of that. And then you can now start now to talk about how you generate or collect your data. You collect your data, you have your data in tons and tons. Then after that, you start to analyze it then. After analyzing it, you code it, where you categorize it, and then you have some code for that. Then you present your data here at the first level. Then you will need another level there, which is level 2, where you extend it more. Then the last one is where you discuss it, then you produce what we call here a theme that will contribute towards a new theory that we have developed. So you will have it there. But you can see that the literature is there, is not missing, and then the framework, your theoretical framework is there. So combining this methodology and the theory and literature will produce what we call a theory or a paper, a scholarly paper. So that is constructed like that. So we have a journey where we start with literature and then we come to the methodology, and then we have at the end, we should produce what we can have here as a thesis. So then you have, so in terms of paradigms, there are different paradigms that you may see there. But they are many, therefore I'm not going to discuss them. But from this presentation, you may see them because here I've indicated what is the nature of the, accordingly, what is the nature of this kind of paradigm, because the paradigms are there. And then what I did not include here is what we call pragmatic paradigm. Pragmatic paradigm can accommodate either qualitative issues or quantitative issues without any problem. So that's what we have there. So these are paradigms that you'll see in terms of when Dr. Mabuza and other colleagues send you this presentation. You follow it there. And then in terms of distinguishing between qualitative and quantitative, these are main issues that distinguish between the two, where you talk about quantity that side, on the other hand, there you talk about quality. So when you have quality versus quantity, so this side you talk about numbers, how many, but this side you talk about the depth of what, how you, of what you are justifying here. And then this side they may talk about hypotheses and variables. This side they'll tell you about questions. Okay, let's have research questions. Then the complexity of what the situation is happening. So this side they control to say, we know if we say crossing red robot is bad, it will be bad whether you are coming from other country or it doesn't matter. It will be just bad. You are guilty because they control. They have what they call objective reality of that. So objective reality, don't cross the red robot. But this side, they will simply say, okay, but so and so's wife last week crossed the red robot because she was chased by hijackers. Therefore, we did not find her guilty. So this time, let's not find this one guilty as well, because this one was not found guilty. You see, we use examples in terms of judging there. That's why we have so many answers. We may find her guilty today, but tomorrow we may find not guilty. So that's how then the quantitative part, the qualitative part shape us to do. But this side it shape us to have what we call the major instrument, and then we have it from there. Okay, so, but pragmatic paradigm is bringing both of these, yes. And other structure that you may have there in this presentation, you will see this, yeah. You will see this, there are some issues that I projected there, and then you may take it from there. So with those discussions, colleagues, I think let's end that discussion here so that we'll know if you have some comments or questions that you need to add to what we were presenting.
Everyone learn a lot and have a lot of issues related with discussions, everything. And I'm informed by Saturday facing the question, but I'm informed by the organizer that let's reserve our comments, questions, or another session we can come later. So please note them down because we are going to take some red text and copy. You may forget it, but please note them down so that when you come back, you see the agenda. So at this time, I want to show quite a number of maps. So lunch at maybe 10 minutes. Just to save on time. So 10 minutes or so, but then it's a simple and just want to know if you relax.
Yes, I think through the image that you have written there, yes, that list there will help us to email it to all of those that have written. Yes, yeah. Yeah, send that as well, yeah, together with that.
Let's stretch out.